What if the most powerful move in a war isn't to fight it, but to let it burn just long enough? Because when you look closely at the rising tension between China and Iran, you begin to see something deeper than alliances, deeper than ideology, something colder. Calculation. China doesn't just see Iran as a partner. It sees it as a pressure point in a global game where energy, time, and attention are the real currencies of power. A significant portion of China's oil lifeline flows from Iran and the surrounding Gulf. Tankers move through the narrow, fragile artery known as the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point that, if disrupted, could send shockwaves through global markets and straight into Beijing's economy. So if Iran's energy systems are shattered, or that strait is sealed, the consequences don't stay in the Middle East. They reach China. And that's exactly why Beijing cannot afford to sit back and watch passively. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because while a sudden collapse in Iran would hurt China, a slow, grinding war might actually benefit it. Think about it. If the conflict drags on, pulling in the United States deeper and deeper, something critical begins to happen. Resources are drained. Focus is divided. Strategic clarity fades. Wars like this don't just consume weapons, they consume attention. And attention, in geopolitics, is everything. Every missile launched, every $1 billion spent, every hour of political focus directed toward Iran, is attention pulled away from somewhere else. Somewhere like Taiwan. This is where China's long game begins to reveal itself. Because Beijing doesn't need Iran to win. It just needs Iran to last. To resist, to endure, to keep the United States locked into a conflict that has no clean ending. We've seen this strategy before. Not in words, but in patterns. Long wars that slowly drain stronger powers, stretching their military, their economy, their public patience. Conflicts where victory becomes unclear, but the cost keeps rising. For China, a prolonged war in Iran creates something invaluable: breathing space. Time to expand naval strength. Time to test global reactions. Time to quietly reshape the balance of power in East Asia without direct confrontation. And the longer Washington stays entangled, the harder it becomes to pivot. But China's position isn't just about waiting. The groundwork for deeper involvement is already there. Back in 2021, Beijing and Tehran signed a sweeping long-term agreement, one that quietly redefined their relationship. It wasn't just about oil. It stretched into infrastructure, telecommunications, and even military cooperation. Railways, ports, digital systems, all slowly tying Iran closer to China's orbit. For Iran, it was a lifeline in the face of isolation. For China, it was something else entirely, a foothold in one of the world's most strategic regions, without firing a single shot. And unlike other global powers, China arrives with a different kind of history. No colonial scars in the Middle East. No deep-rooted rivalries. No ideological crusades. Just interests. Oil, trade, influence, and patience. Now compare that to Iran's past partnerships. Take Russia, for example. 4 years, Moscow appeared to be Tehran's strongest ally. Promises were made, advanced defense systems, modern fighter jets, but many of those promises never fully materialized. Why? Because Russia walks a tightrope. Its relationship with Israel is more complex than it appears. Military coordination in Syria. Cultural ties. Quiet cooperation behind closed doors. Backing Iran too aggressively risks disrupting that balance. And Russia has too much at stake to choose sides completely. So what exists between Moscow and Tehran isn't a true alliance. It's convenience. Temporary alignment, not deep commitment. Iran knows this. That's why it has also tried to keep doors open with Europe, seeking trade, diplomacy, economic breathing room wherever it can find it. But those paths are narrowing. And as options shrink, dependence becomes more likely. Which brings us back to China. Because if Iran weakens, but doesn't fall, that's the moment Beijing has been waiting for. Not to rescue Iran, but to reshape it. Through loans that come with conditions. Through weapons that come with influence. Through infrastructure that quietly shifts control over time. It wouldn't happen overnight. Iran wouldn't suddenly become a puppet. But slowly, step by step, it could become something else. Dependent. Strategically useful. And carefully managed. There's a precedent for this kind of strategy. Look at Syria. When President Bashar al-Assad was under immense pressure, Iran stepped in, not out of loyalty, but out of calculation. Supporting a weakened ally created influence. Because weak partners are easier to shape. And now, the same logic could be applied again, but this time, with China holding the strings. But here's the paradox. The more Iran relies on China to survive, the more it risks losing the very thing it has fought to protect for decades. Independence. Take the Strait of Hormuz again. It's one of Iran's most powerful strategic tools, the ability to threaten global oil flow. But if China becomes deeply invested, that leverage disappears. Because China itself depends heavily on that same oil flow. It wouldn't tolerate disruption. So Iran could find itself in a strange position. Still powerful, but no longer free to use that power. Capable, but constrained. Surviving, but controlled. And that is the hidden cost of becoming a proxy. You stay afloat, but someone else starts steering. Decisions about war, trade, even diplomacy begin to shift, subtly at first, then more openly, toward Beijing. And for a nation built on the idea of sovereignty and resistance, that may be the highest price of all. Meanwhile, the longer the war drags on between Israel and Iran, the more the risk grows that other powers get pulled in. For China, that's the balancing act. A short war? No advantage. A total collapse? Too unstable. But a long, exhausting conflict, especially one that traps the United States? That's the window. Because in that scenario, China doesn't need headlines. It doesn't need troops on the ground. It just needs quiet, consistent involvement. Weapons systems delivered in the background. Financial support that keeps the system alive. Technology that strengthens resilience just enough. Not to win the war, but to make sure it never truly ends. A forever conflict. And in that kind of war, victory isn't about who stands at the end. It's about who runs out of time first. For Beijing, the equation is simple. As long as the United States is consumed elsewhere, it gains freedom to act where it matters most. To build. To prepare. To wait. Because China's greatest advantage isn't just its economy or its military. It's patience. And perhaps even more dangerous than that, is its understanding of one simple truth. America's biggest vulnerability may not be its strength, but how long it can stay focused.